Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Speakeasy Bourbon Club, brought to you by the Bourbon and Birdie Show. We are super excited today to have River Distillery out of Birmingham, Alabama on with us. We'll give Jeff and Brian a minute to introduce themselves in a second. They've got so much to tell you about what's going on in Birmingham, what's happening with COVID. I'm excited to be sipping on their whiskey tonight. I did see they've got a gin out, and I know it's called Birdies and Bourbon, but I love a good gin, especially a Negroni, and I can't wait to get my hands on that. So we'll do a little review of the whiskey. Jeff, I'll turn it over to you in just a second, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you to your old college, I don't know what you want to call him, but
Med school roomie.
Med school roomie. So Dr. D, Darren, thank you so much for hooking us up, man. We really appreciate it. Dan?
Oh, yeah, man. We are so glad to have you guys on the pod. And your background there looks amazing. I can't wait till this COVID stuff is over so we can get out there and meet you guys in person and check out the distillery. It looks like it's an incredible place. And just looking forward to having this chat today. Yeah, I can't wait to hear the story. I want to hear all about it. And just can't wait to dig in. Absolutely. Yep.
So, Jeff and Brian, I've got a shitload of questions that I want to get into, but you're probably going to answer a lot of them, and the listeners won't have to hear me talk. So I'll turn it over to you. Why don't you introduce yourself and the CEO, and let's peel this thing back and have a drink.
Right on. So first, let me say thanks for having us. And Darren, when you watch this, hope you're doing well, man, as
Very
always. Cool. My name is Jeff Dugas. I'm an orthopedic surgeon in Birmingham, Alabama. I work at the Andrews Sports Medicine Orthopedic Center, which, if you follow sports, our clinic is involved in a lot of sports. We take care of a lot of the teams at every level, and I'm a sports medicine doc. So this is our CEO, Brian Rodgers, and we'll get into Brian's background in a minute. My background is I did chemical engineering as an undergrad at NC State, and the plan was always to go to medical school, go Pack. And the plan was always to go to medical school. So I went to medical school after that. But doing chemical engineering, you learn about a lot of things that I no longer need to know. I can't remember anything about thermodynamics, but I did learn a lot on distilling and in fermentation and things like that. And so I started brewing my own beer when I was in college. It just became a hobby through med school. A couple of my med school roommates, I think Darren was involved in that. We had some failed batches that good ones. I think Darren would probably tell you that. And then, over the course of 30 years of brewing beer, you end up in a lot of distilleries and breweries and getting to really meet some cool and interesting people. I grew up in Charlotte, and we always went to the South Carolina beaches. So we always loved Hilton Head. Hilton Head was always our favorite place. And we ended up buying a piece of land and building a house on a little island called Defusky. So Defusky, you go to Hilton Head and you take a ferry over to this island. It's about a 1 mile ride. Defusky is about a 10 square mile island. There's about 500 permanent residents. And so about 7 or 8 years ago, a guy moves in down the street from me who's from our house, who has a background in Kentucky and distilling. And he decided to build a building on a piece of land he bought and dug a well down to the Florida aquifer and started making rum, the Defusky Island Rum Company.
Oh, yeah, sure. I've had that.
It's really good rum. His name is Tony Chase, and Tony's not only a great guy, but he runs a fantastic distillery. It's a great tourist spot. He's a friendly guy, and I love going down there. And so after drinking way too much of his rum on several occasions, I hatched this idea of having a distillery. And he said to me one time that Birmingham was the largest city in North America without a commercial distillery.
Wow.
And so I took that as a challenge, and I came back and looked into it and called some people, wound up getting in touch with somebody in the mayor's office in development. And next thing you know, we're down the path. So that was about 5 or 6 years ago. And we kept going down the path and finding out more, and the city got behind us. Birmingham is a tremendous city. It's a lot like Charlotte, where I grew up. Mm-hmm. There's about 1 million and a quarter people in Birmingham, in the Birmingham area. Beautiful downtown, really hilly kind of suburbs, beautiful city with a great climate, fantastic water supply. There's a lot of caverns under Birmingham, a lot of stuff under Birmingham, which plays into the name Dread River, and we'll get into that later. But the water in Birmingham is really good for making booze. And so we kicked this thing off, started a project that started a lot smaller than it finished, which is, I'm sure, not atypical for new distilleries. We bit off a pretty big chunk in a pretty big city. We got permits to make booze in downtown Birmingham. We were in a downtown entertainment district. We refurbished an old building and polished a turd, as I like to say. We polished a turd.
Perfumed a pig.
We perfumed the pig. We bought the best piece of equipment money could buy, and we hired a wizard to run it, and then we hired a wizard to run the company. And so, we opened August 3rd of last year. We really opened Memorial Day for tours and tastings, but the front of the house opened on August 3rd. So that's how we got here, and I'll let Brian introduce himself and tell you about his background as well. So here's Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Thank y'all definitely for having us, and we appreciate it. My background is definitely diverse and different. Started in law enforcement and military, and then also the military. Spent about 11 and a half, almost 12 years in both. Most in the National Guard, but I had a little over 4 years active duty time with Army. Fortunately enough, an orthopedic surgeon, not Jeff, but an orthopedic surgeon advised me it was time to retire at age 29.
There you go.
So for me, it was, what am I going to do? What's next? So I decided, narrowed it down between law school and culinary school. And looked at living in a library for 3 years or playing in the kitchen, and I chose playing in the kitchen.
Fair enough.
Spent 2 years in culinary school and started a culinary career that spanned a little over 15 years, almost 16 years. Became lucky and fortunate enough to become one of the exclusive clubs in the Southeast U.S., where I was executive chef, food and beverage director for 11 years. At that club, I became the number one buyer in the Southeast for 7 brand families of Scotch, and one of the top buyers of all high-end spirits and wine.
Cool.
During that time, sorry about that. During that time,
No worries.
I started advising several distilleries on operations and different barrel programs. Started advising the Alabama ABC board on what whiskeys to bring in, what product to stock on the shelf, and what's relevant, what my buyers wanted into the state. That kind of became a mutual partnership. They started tossing around the idea of me coming to work for the state. At the time, I said no. Then me and my wife later on decided we wanted to have a child. We couldn't, so we decided we were going to adopt.
Oh, cool.
Knowing we were going to do that, for me, I had to be at home at night.
Yeah.
So I finally bit the bullet, took a job with the state, and spent almost 4 years as their operation director at the Alabama ABC board, which meant I was overall liquor in the state of Alabama.
Yeah.
So it gave me 4 years of watching that, the network, and really me networking with every distillery in the Southeast.
Yeah.
Personally picking out over almost 2,000 barrels of distilled spirits.
Did you send your number over yet?
Yeah. Do not give Cal. Do not give Cal. Do not give your cell phone number to Cal. Please don't. You'll never hear the end of him.
Hey, it's okay. Dan's the creepy guy on the show, not me.
Not when it comes to barrels and whiskey. I'm not.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I couldn't resist.
No, you're fine. But it allowed me to have fun in the industry, but at the same time, meet the right people, find the right people, ask the right questions, learn the true ins and outs of the network of distribution and the distribution channels all the way across the United States. It was more isolated, what we call control states, which are state-run, basically alcohol agencies within a state. And that network's very tight. And usually when you branch into it or you're part of it, it's easy to move through state to state to state in your networking chain. The open are the easy ones to get into. You just have to find that specific broker who can move your product, or the distributor who can move your product.
Yeah, because Alabama, excuse me. So I'd be remiss if I didn't, sir. Thank you very much for your service. Cheers.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers. I'm a huge fan. I agree.
And thanks. I already got the text. My phone was buzzing. I'm assuming that was you sending me your text, your number. So thanks for that.
I think it was a block notification.
Definitely have to connect. Thanks, guys. We really appreciate you coming on. So can't. I want to get into this whiskey a little bit, if you don't mind, as we
Sure.
start off. So I did see you got the gin. I'm like going, shit, I want that gin. I'm waiting for a Negroni.
It's just for Negroni.
So we have 5 spirits actually currently. We have several more aging. So this is our gin. We'll go through each of the 5 if you're interested.
Yeah, absolutely.
Start with the whiskey. We also have our vodka. So we have the Dread River vodka. It's a citric vodka.
Ricky Fowler would love that vodka.
Ricky Fowler. We also have a blue agave. You know, we can't call it tequila, but it's a blue
Understood.
agave. And we have our rum. So we have a Dread River rum, and we'll go through all of them. So the whiskey is obviously the flagship. And so the whiskey is a 5-year aged, blended, wheated whiskey. So
nice.
it was made as individual barrels of corn and wheat, aged 5 years separately, and then blended and proofed and bottled in Birmingham using Birmingham water. We sourced it from ourselves. So the whiskey was all made on our still by our head master distiller, Charlie Ball. Charlie is the master distiller at Troy & Sons up in Asheville, North Carolina, and Asheville Distilling Company. So Charlie and Asheville Distilling Company, his wife Troy, are our partners. And so we bought it. We made it in Asheville. They made it up there on our equipment. And then we moved the equipment to Birmingham and bought the barrels from ourselves and brought it to Birmingham and blended it and bottled it and proofed it and bottled it. It is super smooth. When I told Charlie what I wanted, he asked me, what I wanted our whiskey to be like. And I said, well, I'm a fan of Weller Special Reserve. That's my favorite. And I said, I want you to get as close to that as you can get. I was going to have that here with me, but I'm not at home. I'm at the distillery, so I don't have the Weller here with me.
I could pour one for you and do a little comparison. If you
I wouldn't be mad at you if you did. I love that stuff.
The next time we have you on, we should do that.
We do love
to.
Yeah.
So I wanted a wheated whiskey, and so this is what we did. This was supposed to carry us until all of our stuff came out of barrels. So we've been making our own bourbon right here in Birmingham, but we like this so much that we're continuing to make the corn and the wheat to blend it because this product is so good and it's gotten such a good response that we want to continue to make it even after we run out of the sourced product. So we've continued to make and put away barrels of just the corn and the wheat to do this product. Our bourbon that we're putting away is the same corn and wheat, but we added 10% malted barley and we changed the corn and wheat percentages a little bit. So it is going to be a little different. We used a couple of different barrels than we used for this product. So it's going to have a different flavor profile, but it's also going to be very smooth. We had a lot of the warm notes of caramel and vanilla and things like that. That's what we wanted.
Do we have is there a Birdies and Bourbon bottle yet that you've we've got something coming your way when it's ready?
Absolutely, 100%. We've actually got 2 things coming your way in addition to the bourbon. So our first bourbon barrels just turned a year old. They're about 13 months old. So we'll be pulling those out at 2 years, starting to pull them out. We're going to let some go a longer time, but we'll start pulling them out at 2 years. Down here in Alabama, we have the benefit of lots of 100-degree days, and we have a really hot room back there in a warehouse that it's if you're familiar with Kavalon, that sits at 107 degrees on the coast of Thailand. I'm not sure that we don't have hotter temperatures here in Birmingham. So we're 2 years will be plenty on this stuff.
I've got some Tennessee shine sitting back here that had never seen a damn piece of wood, and it was hot as hell, and it still and it still is. But hey, but there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it.
No doubt. So we also have a bourbon that we sourced from Ultra Pure that we then put into a rum barrel. So we've got about 5 barrels of that. That'll be ready probably in about a month. We've been aging that in the rum barrel for about 8 months.
I'd love to get out of that.
We've got a rye that we've got in sherry barrels. Sherry barrels are really hard to come by, good sherry barrels. And Brian was able to source some really good sherry barrels. So that'll be out probably around October, November after we've been in barrel about 8 or 9 months. So we'll have both of those, and we'll have about 1,500 bottles of both of those. And the combination of this product that we've got here plus the other 2 will get us to when our stuff comes out of barrel. So you guys are in for that. So I'll tell you about the rest of these. The rum So this is a molasses and brown sugar based rum. We submitted all of these to competitions, the first four anyway. The agave just came out. But this one was our gold medal product. So we won a gold medal in the 50 Best in New York, the 50 Best Rum competition. This won a gold medal in that and a silver medal at the ADI Spirits competition. The whiskey won a silver medal at the ADI Spirits competition. The gin, this is the least gin you're ever going to have. So by law, as you know, gin has to be 51% juniper. I would bet you that there is not a single berry over 51% in this gin. So it is what they call, I guess, a West Coast style gin or a contemporary gin, as opposed to a London dry gin.
Nice.
This thing has 13 botanicals in it. It's very citrusy and floral, and it is. I'm not a gin fan all the time because of the dry pine cone bomb type of thing you get with some of these.
Yeah.
But this is completely different, and everybody that says they don't like gin loves our gin.
Well, we end a lot of our shows with our kind of a 5 questions, right, Cal? And one of them is, are you a G&T guy?
Go ahead and ask the question. Let's get into it now.
Oh, yeah. So the question we ask everybody is, are you a G&T guy or a VNT guy? And if they answer wrong, well, we have
you don't get to come back.
I'll just say that my answer to that is I'm not a T guy at all. I'm just a G or a V guy. Okay. So my drink of choice when I'm not drinking whiskey is to drink this vodka straight up. I like the vodka just straight up. And it's a wheat vodka. So it's red winter wheat, 100%. It has a little bit of a almost vanilla taste to it that comes from the wheat. Nice. It's definitely not a mixing vodka. You can mix it with like fruit juices and things like that, but it's not great with soda water.
Like you're saying, it's too viscous and it's kind of thick and got too much. It's a little too heavy.
No, it's not even that. It's just the taste, that flavor that comes from the wheat does not go well with soda water.
Oh yeah, I got you.
So, but I drink this straight up. One of my favorite drinks is just to have this on ice, maybe with a little lime squeezed in it. So our vodka is really good, and we priced it the same as Tito's, so we made it pretty cheap.
Nice. Nice job.
So those are and then there's our agave. So we made a blue agave. So this was a project, let me tell you. So the first time we did this, the agave overwhelmed the yeast, and we had to lose it. We had to get rid of it. It turned out that was right as COVID was starting, and so our first batch of sanitizer smells remarkably like tequila. I mean, it's remarkable how close it is. It is astounding how much like tequila it smells, and it's hard to not want to rub it on your face when you're sanitizing. But it's 100% blue agave, and the second round we figured out how to not overwhelm the yeast. And it's
so that is not a smoky hand sanitizer, right? That's going to be a kind of a pure, crisp kind of. Okay,
crisp, exactly. Really good.
Because when it comes to sanitizer, I'm more of a mezcal kind of guy than I am tequila. So, this,
Right on. Love it.
Cheers. Well, I got plenty of stuff. So I mean, you gave me a little bit about, you kind of stuck your toe in the water on Birmingham or Alabama in general, but as a North Carolina. And by the way, Dan, I think we've said that Dan's in Raleigh and born and raised. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Pack, right. So I'm a Tennessee guy, so whatever, you guys don't count. Anyway, but so I mean, Alabama. You hadn't lived in Alabama prior to, right? Or you were in Alabama?
I do a fellowship with Dr. Andrews in 1999, and my pregnant wife, a dog, and a U-Haul, and with every anticipation of going back. In fact, I promised my wife with everything I held sacred that we were leaving this hee-haw hell in 365 days. I'd been here for one night when I interviewed, and my wife had never been here. We drove straight from New York City to Birmingham.
Yeah.
And we're here 21 years later, and we absolutely love it. It's a tremendous place to live. My kids were both born here, and I love Birmingham. I think it's an amazing city. It's very much a diamond that people are not aware of. It's probably the foodiest city in North America that people don't know about.
That's awesome.
It's a seriously foodie city.
Yeah, we're always looking for, we call our golf courses diamonds in the rough, the things that people don't really, that you would look over, you would drive past, or you wouldn't find. And I absolutely think Birmingham is that. I've spent a lot of time in my day job. I've spent a lot of time in Alabama, and I played all the RTJ trail over there and such. So yeah. But if you think about Birmingham in the past, I'm going to go recent, but like 15 years, just the advances that are happening. I mean, it is blowing because it's affordable. I shouldn't be saying this because now it's not going to be affordable. It's, and Brian, are you Alabama? You may have said it earlier, and I've had another drink, so I may have forgotten. But lifelong Birmingham, or?
I spent most of the time in South Alabama.
Okay.
A little town.
Oh, L.A.
Yeah.
Lower Alabama, baby.
I got you. Yeah, I'm a Gulf Shores guy. All right,
So I'm the doc for Troy. So I've taken care of Troy for 21 years, and it's unfortunate that we won't get to take it to the Vols this year if they go conference only. So hopefully the SEC will stand up and not do that, because we're ready to come to Knoxville and whoop some ass.
I mean, hey, Dr. D, I hope you just heard that. So that's your buddy giving you a little shout out there.
There you go.
We're not going to see any. I don't think we'll see people at sports. However, people did show up at Bristol last night, so
Right.
I don't know, it's a little over the edge. All right, hold on. Back to Dread River. I don't want to get down these rabbit holes because I'm going to pour another one, and we could get way fishtailed off of something crazy.
Sure.
So there's two things, and you may answer them in one, or you may answer it in two questions, but two parts. So Dread River, I want to get into, and then your logo. Mm-hmm. To me, it's like a trident with some other maybe molecule or chemistry things, and you've given us a little bit about why, but I want to hear some of that.
Yeah.
So the Dread River name, we were looking for a name as we were going through this. One of the first things you do with a PR and marketing firm is they want to know, what you stand for, what you want the vibe to be, what your company ethos are going to be. And we went through these exercises that were really robust and kind of rewarding to go through. And then we get into this naming exercise. And they came back to us with a host of names, probably 30 names, and we didn't like them. So we sent them back and said, no, none of those really fit what we're looking for. And they kind of agreed, and they went back. And so in the second round of names, Dread River was one of them. And we asked him, where it came from. So the guy at the marketing place said that he had done some digging about the water in Birmingham. Back in the early 1800s, this guy named Joseph Mulhattan, who was from Atlanta, who was a little bit of a snake oil salesman, but kind of traveled Birmingham to Atlanta roads in these shows and things, was writing articles and convincing people that there was a water source under Birmingham, this big river under Birmingham, that it was 300 feet wide, and cruise ships could get in there and sail all the way to the coast at Mobile.
Wow.
And he had pictures, and he had been down there, and there were river monsters and all these kind of things. And he wrote multiple articles in multiple newspapers, including the Atlanta papers, about this river under Birmingham. Well, fast forward, and nobody could ever substantiate these rumors. But fast forward to the early 1900s, I think it was somewhere around 1920 to 1930, a lady wrote an editorial to the local paper in Birmingham. Two teenage boys had gone missing. And this had been the subject of some articles in the paper. And in her editorial, she said, I guess it's possible they may have fallen in and drowned in the Dread River.
Really?
And that was the only time the term was ever used. Well, subsequent to that, in the 1970s, the mayor cemented in the entrances to this underground water source. So Birmingham is a big steel and coal, history.
Yeah, sure.
So there's obviously caverns down there and water. Birmingham has more sinkholes than any place on earth. And so when all the downtown buildings were being built, people tell stories in the 1970s and 80s as these skyscrapers were being built that the workers would leave one day and the next day come back and the whole base would be filled with clear water. And so there's clearly water down there. But whether there's a river down there or not, nobody can say. So in a way, the story was kind of morbid that we don't know what happened to these two boys. But at the same time, it's a shout out to the water source, which is really our water in Birmingham. There's a lot of things that we do well here and some things that every city that we don't do well. But the quality of the water here is amazing. It's always in the top, upper percentages of water quality in America. And we wanted to shout out to that source because the water is so important to what we do. So that's where the dread and the name kind of flows off the tongue. That's where the name came from.
No, I love it, man. Yeah, I mean, Dread River's easy, man. It just kind of rolls. To your point, it rolls, it flows. I mean, it's a good one.
Just rolls. So the Trident, the Trident. So it is the alchemical symbol for water of life. So it is not a trademarkable thing. It's not patentable. It is the alchemical symbol for water of life, which in Gaelic means whiskey. So we chose that as kind of a way of saying our philosophy around here is we want people to enjoy their Dread River. So we even thought that maybe Dread River is a metaphor for life in general. We're all on this river headed towards the same place. Our lives will all come to an end, and we're all on this Dread River together. We're going to try to make your Dread River a little better, and we're going to blow a little positivity into your world and try to have some fun doing it. So that's where the water of life comes from. So we're all about having a little fun and enjoying company and having conversation.
Very cool.
Raise a glass. So I see you've got agua. Is it vitae?
Aqua vitae. That's
agua vitae, water of life. And so I'm as we've discussed earlier. So Darren may not have made the best decision. He married into whatever he married into, and we're originally from East Tennessee. Maybe Belungeon, maybe not. We don't need to get into that, but. I had to Google it, right, and looked it up, and there's some Greek meaning behind it. But it actually was it was like alcoholic water is what I got from the Greek kind of thing. But I understand from where you're coming. But because back in the day, I mean, you had to add something to the water to make the water clean and pure so you could drink it. So yeah, that makes perfect sense, man. Awesome.
No doubt.
Yeah,
so that's been a good thing. People have really responded to that. People like the idea that it's a Birmingham thing. We're the largest distillery in Alabama right now, and Clyde Mays they'll be opening a new distillery down in Troy, but they have a long runway. They've been great to us. We've been very in close contact with them over the last couple of years. Very collegial. As you know, this industry is so collegial, and the people in this industry have been so helpful to us. Before we opened, we went out to probably 50 distilleries around the country and just about every part of the country. And one of the pieces of advice that everybody gave us was, you better have a front of the house. Yeah. You better have a retail outlet, because if you don't, you're going to sit in barrels for a long time and you're going to run out of money, and you got to have a way to support it. So about 75% of the distilleries we went to told us that, and that was the most consistent piece of advice we got.
Right. So
that's where we got the idea for doing this with the front of the house. We have a 9,000 square foot, event space that we're sitting in part of right now as our tasting room. So it's been an interesting journey. Well, it's been very interesting.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen. I've seen pictures. Obviously, it's kind of difficult to travel around. I mean, you can, but it's uncomfortable. So whatever. We saw each other a week or two ago, but it looks like it's an awesome facility. And an event space, and we can't wait to do a live recording there with you guys.
We would love to host you. We would love to host you and show you around, put you up. Like I said, the people in this industry are super collegial. We'll make it red carpet for you.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, that's we were talking. We were on last night with a guy. He's called the Salty Golfer, and I know you're a golfer, so we we had him on. Did it? We had a great. Well, not last night. 2 nights ago. Last night we were on with a different guy, but the Bourbon and Rye Club and the Urban Bourbonist, and those guys will probably want to engage, and they've got a big presence. So I mean, it's. I don't want to say that it's. I mean, it's just a good opportunity to spread there's plenty of business out there, and everybody's looking to try something new and something different. It's not incestuous in the sense that somebody's taking something from you. It's about sharing and how can somebody else spread the word about somebody else because really we're not taking any family members away. We're growing a family, and it's an awesome opportunity to do that.
And that's the way the craft industry should be. We have a tremendous relationship with the breweries around here. Even though we have to make our own beer in Alabama, if we're going to have events, we have to produce the beer on site. The breweries have been generous to us and helpful to us even though we're kind of competition for them, they've been amazing to us, and they're our neighbors, and they've become friends. In fact, our architect, her husband is the principal at one brewery in town, and our attorney, her husband is the principal at another one. So, it's been a fantastically collegial relationship between the breweries and the distilleries, and we plan on being that too. So when people have reached out to us that are thinking about doing this, or they want to help with something, we're all about it.
Yeah, so we do want to get to the facility. That sounds like a great place there, and so what else? What kind of activities are you guys doing at the facility? You mentioned there's an event space. You got the tasting room, and is that open like every day of the week? How's that work?
Well, right, when we originally opened, we wanted to be available to continuous travelers as they walk by.
Yeah.
So we were open 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And what we found was it wasn't conducive for us and wasn't beneficial for everybody because we were still trying to find our legs in the community, still trying to find our legs in Alabama and grow a brand, from the dirt up. So what we did was we scaled it back right before COVID hit to doing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights.
Okay.
And doing tours Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So when we were open, we had tours available.
Yep.
So everybody could come and experience Dread River, a tour, experience a tasting flight. They could come have dinner or have a snack or have hors d'oeuvres. They could try our product at the bar. As I always say, it's liquid to lips. Anytime you get liquid, by showing them the quality of your product so they can experience and taste it. So we kind of kept that going into COVID, and then when COVID hit, of course, on the 16th of March, we were closed down completely. We opened back up June 1.
Okay.
Launched Friday, Saturday.
Okay.
Did that for about a little over a month, and decided, we started having a lot of interest in Thursday nights. Now we're back open Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Wow, very cool.
And we'll do some events on other nights. Like I was here for an event last night on a Wednesday. So we'll open for an event if somebody wants to have an event. But in terms of just general walk-in business, we're only Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
We decided we're going to let people in the community, the people of Birmingham, and the people in the surrounding cities tell us when we should be open.
Yeah.
So instead of us trying to predict through a magic ball, okay, this is the perfect night. As we get events, if we start having 4 or 5 events, a month, and they're all on Wednesdays, then we'll increase Wednesday and we'll open up every Wednesday night as well.
Resilient country, resilient people. I mean, we'll make it. We'll make it through. It's definitely challenging times. I know you were sharing that lots of sanitizer are being produced. So hey. Sorry. I may have raised the wrong one, but I mean, it's just the way it goes. So I know we've had you guys on for a minute. We don't want to keep you on too long. So, but I want to get into the glass, man. I'm having the whiskey. What are you guys having?
Whiskey for sure.
Whiskey.
Where'd that bottle go?
So let's. I don't. Does it? If it doesn't look like mine, I'm going to be pissed off. Not pissed off in a bad way. Just.
It's the same.
It's the same.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
So first off, when
that's a tall pour you're giving me there, Brian.
When we get ready to drop the Birdie and Bourbon's whiskey bourbon, it's got to be bourbon, I guess. I mean, we may do some variation. So I need to know where we get the bottles from, and then I need to get in line for the juice if nobody's asked for it yet. We'll take a barrel.
No problem.
And secondly, so what's give me? I mean, do you want to go to the tasting notes, or you want me to?
No, I want to hear what you think. I have my thoughts. I've been drinking this stuff for a number of years now.
Well, you're biased, okay?
I am a little biased. So.
Brian, you're probably also biased, so I don't know what to say.
I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, it's my third glass now, so it's definitely getting better. And it wasn't bad to start with. It wasn't bad to start with. By the way, I love your glass. Do you have Dread River glasses like? Yeah. So I had to order. I could only find this Canadian leaf one and get it. So so I'm going to need to replace my glasses. Number one. We
got a bunch of them. We got the traditional Glencairn glasses. We got the stem ones. We got We got modern ones. We got all kinds.
Yeah, I love this one though. That's flat based and okay. So here's what I think.
This one's my favorite. This is kind of a Glencairn glass.
It's
taster.
It's kind of a Glencairn flute.
Kind of Glencairn light, you know.
Yeah. Nice. There you go. Yeah, the neat. Yeah. So here's what I think. I get a little bit of heat on the nose, but understood. I mean, it's a whiskey, and that's rightfully so. And I don't get anything bad out of it. I mean, I get a lot of vanilla. Dan, Mickey, and Chris are going to love this shit. I mean, I get butterscotch immediately, so they're going to be a shoe-in for that. I get butterscotch, heavy, and I wouldn't even know. I don't want to recant, but it's when I say butterscotch, I'm getting like almost that. If you've lived in Alabama this long, you know the Mrs. Butterworth or Mr. Butterworth. Hey, I'm getting that kind of smell.
You know what, Cal? We got Mickey and those guys coming on in a couple of weeks again. Why don't you send them some samples of this? We can make sure we put it in the lineup for everybody to taste that night. Yeah.
Well, for sure. Yeah.
So I'll tell you that our distiller, and he has a way more sophisticated palate than I do, but he will tell you that you get the vanilla, and it has something to do with where these different flavors hit your various parts of your palate, but. The front end, you get the vanilla. I guess the butterscotch happens at the back of your tongue. That's where you tend to taste the butterscotch thing is more towards the back and the sides. And he says he thinks there's more of a caramel in the middle. And I like all of those. So when we talk about that, I love those three in particular. Those are my three when I'm drinking whiskey. Those are the three that I look for. The butterscotch is definitely the more subtle. And I love that you picked up on that because that's my favorite component of the flavor profile of this. And I look for that in a whiskey as it gets back there towards the back of my tongue.
Nice.
So what do you think, Brian?
Well, you're right. I mean, it's and then you have the subtle warmth of the whiskey, so you know what you're drinking. It's not a slap in the face or a pucker power or a bite. It's just a light warmth that gets close to the back of your throat.
No, but you can taste it. I mean, you taste it from the nose to when it hits your lips, and then I've got a different. Difference, that's a bad way to put it. I get different complexities all the way through to I swallow, and then the swallow.
Yeah.
Like there's no burn on the way down.
No.
So
kind of like a good friend of mine would tell you, and a lot of people know who he is. His name is Jimmy Russell. He said everybody's mouth's going to taste something different.
Oh, for sure.
It's whether you enjoy it or not.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we can both say it. You can say it. Anybody who's drinking it can say what they think they taste, and they're tasting that.
Yeah.
But it may be slightly different from somebody else's.
Yeah.
At times, I think I can pull a slight chocolate or a cocoa flavor out of it.
Yep.
But then again, I also think that plays into whatever you're eating,
right,
or whatever you've had before you're drinking.
Right.
Yeah, it was an interesting conversation we had last night with the guys that were on. But it was, and they do a thing called Sunday Night Fights. And they pair two bourbons against each other, blah, 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 right? Whatever. Excuse me. No offense to those guys. Just getting to the point, even though I labored it. But it's like, so the one guy's watching the other and it's like, oh, he picked up on something I didn't. And it's interesting that you just said you pick up some chocolate or cocoa notes. And I'm like, as I'm kind of chewing on this a little bit, I'm like, shit, I didn't get the milk chocolate, but I definitely am getting a little bit of dark chocolate in the back of my mouth now that you mentioned it. And it's just something I didn't think about it because it just didn't hit me. I mean, that other things that kind of hit my palate prior to. So, but yeah, absolutely. But hey, what a good, if you're a Jameson drinker, I mean, I would say to me, right. But if you like Jameson, I would say this is an immediate, you don't have to replace anything, but I would say, and I'm not comparing it, but if you like the flavor profiles and you like a whiskey, I would say this is a Jameson thing. I wouldn't go, I wouldn't necessarily, I get a little single malt scotch out of this thing and some notes, man. I can't lie. I mean, there's some smoke coming out of this thing that I'm tasting and eating. And And I know Jameson's not a single malt, but Jameson's kind of its own little thing. And but yeah, I'm getting some single malt stuff out of this thing. Is that intent in like?
No, it wasn't intentional. We are doing a single malt also. I forgot to mention that.
Oh, man.
Dan's just sitting there. I should have, if I'd have known, Dan, I'd have had one taken up there to you.
This is typical of Cal. Typical.
Yeah,
Trust
I'm
me.
going to have to get you some. Listen, you play baseball. We're baseball buddies from NC State.
Hold on.
By the way, did you play for Elliott or did you play for...
No, I didn't play there. He loves to say that. I didn't play there. No, he loves to say that. No, I did go to school there, though. Yeah.
He did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Huh?
Coach Esposito was the coach. I was a walk-on. I mean, I didn't play very. I pitched. I threw a lot of batting. I threw a lot of strikes, so I threw a lot of batting practice. So
there you go.
I saw a lot of balls get hit really hard at me behind an L screen. But Coach Esposito, God rest his soul, was our coach, and he was. It was like playing for your grandfather. He was a great man.
That's awesome.
So better yet, Dan got a scholarship to play ball at NC State, but he didn't play, but he has to say that he played there, kind of thing.
He does this all the time. He does this. I went to school there.
What's it look like on the wall? Does it say NC State? On the wall, it say NC State.
It does.
All right.
I'm way more proud of my chemical engineering degree than I am of my medical degree from Duke.
There you go.
The chemical engineering degree was a lot harder to get than the medical. Look, I love Duke, and I got married in the Duke Chapel, and it's a great medical school. But I will say that 4 years of chemical engineering was a lot harder than 4 years of medical school.
Nice. So I'm looking forward to. I know I'm back to bourbon now. I've had like 3 of these, or whiskey. Sorry, and not to cut anybody off, but I mean this is really good, man. I mean this would make. It hold up really good in a cocktail. What are we at? Like 50 and a half or so? 45 and 90 proof. Yeah,
90 proof. We did 90 because it cuts out the flocculation, which sounds like a dirty word, but it's not. So if you go under 86 proof, you run the risk of a flocking out, which the flocculation is when the oil droplets from the barrel become visible in the bottle, and it looks like there's dirt in the bottle. It's not dirt, it's oil. It's an aesthetic thing. It doesn't affect the taste at all. When you get above 86, you don't risk flocculation. 88 is probably okay. We went 90 just to kind of clear it all together. So that's the reason we chose 90. It didn't really have anything to do with the flavor profile. We chose it because aesthetically it eliminates the risk of flock altogether.
Okay, cool.
Interesting.
And if you don't have a building that's the size of a city block to filter your products, you got to worry about that stuff. So
Gotcha.
Yeah. Let's see. Dan, do you have any?
Let's talk about the still. Oh, I didn't get a chance to talk to you about the still.
Yeah, go at it.
So we have a Kotha. It's Kothe. It's a German company. It's a Kotha still. It's a pot still, 5,000 liter pot still with 2 6-plate columns. So the basically the still itself is 1 column, is 1 plate, and then we have 2 6-plate columns, so that makes 13 total. And then we added another 4-plate column. There you go, the Willet bottle. I love it. So we added another 4-plate column to get to 17. So that allows us to make the vodka.
Oh, yeah?
So vodka, you got to get it way up there in proof. And we can get up to about 194 proof with our 17 plates.
Wow.
We also added a gin basket. So now we can turn around and infuse our gin. So we can take the vodka or whatever other base spirit we want to make, and we can infuse it and make gin. Mm-hmm. So basically, we have a very utilitarian still. So the way I describe it to people is we bought a Ferrari, and then we souped it up. So we have a souped up Ferrari of a still. It's a very unique still because we can make all 5 products on the same piece of equipment. We don't have to change equipment. We change how we configure the still.
Was it new, or did you buy a vintage one?
No, we brought it from Asheville Distilling Company. It was the first of these type of stills when it was bought by Asheville Distilling Company in 2012.
Yeah.
So Charlie and Troy brought it to Asheville in 2012. We bought it. They're our partners. We bought it from them.
Yeah.
And brought it to Birmingham 2 years ago. So it's a great piece of equipment. And we obviously modified a great piece of equipment, but we souped it up. It's an incredible. We haven't named her yet. We keep trying to think of a name for her, but we haven't quite come up with a good name yet.
But you got plenty. I mean,
my favorite name is Michelle. I keep wanting to call her Michelle, but
it's good.
Is that your wife's name?
No, it's my wife's middle name, and I lost the battle in naming my daughter, so her middle name. I wanted Michelle, and I lost. So I may have to name it Michelle.
Hey, well, maybe that's a good poll. So I did take a look at your guys' Instagram page, and we'll get to that in a minute, so you can plug yourselves. But I mean, maybe that's a fan-worthy thing. You got a lot of followers. A lot of people are looking at you.
Yep.
Maybe the fans name it.
Yep.
Or your
That would be
followers.
great. I would love that. That's a great idea. That's a terrific idea.
Run a little contest. Yeah.
Well, you get a bottle and depending on what they like, if you got something coming out and you're going to do because this is not a short-term thing. I can see, and I've talked with your college roommate, and like this was your dream. I mean, I don't dream maybe a bad word, but I mean this is where you like. I'm retiring and I'm going to make fucking whiskey.
Yeah.
And booze, so
I can tell you that until COVID is over, I'm not retiring from anything. You haven't met my wife yet, but there's no chance that I'm retiring anytime soon. You'd understand what I mean if you saw the credit card bills.
So what you're saying is Amazon, you've got your own Amazon fleet.
I do. There's a parking pad in front of my house that has a spot that's labeled for Amazon. I have a daughter. I have a redheaded daughter too. So I mean, it's between my daughter and my wife, the Amazon people. It's a daily event, maybe twice a day, some days.
Yeah.
I'm 52, and I actually love my real job. I'm very blessed. I get to do amazing things, and I'm actually the team doctor for the WWE, which is another fun thing that I get to do. So I work with the WWE, which is a really cool thing. And this is a project that I just thought, having lived in multiple places, I've lived in a bunch of places. Birmingham needed something like this. This is really good for the city, and it's a really cool thing. What I said all along is I'm not going to do this if we can't be in the conversation with some of the stuff that I like to drink. This can't be just a novelty. This has to be good enough that I could feel good about saying we did this. Birmingham did this.
Yeah.
And if it's not that, just having a novelty of having a distillery was not the idea. I wanted to be good enough that we can be proud of this. If I go to a restaurant in California and it's on the menu, I can be proud that our stuff is on the menu. So
no, it's like, hey, I'll buy the round and I'll take my liquor and set us up.
Set us up. So I wasn't about to do it if we couldn't do that.
Cal, that's that Wolfpack pride right there, Cal. That's what that is right there. You see that? You wouldn't know nothing about this,
How do you do that? How do you do that?
No, that's really cool because you see a lot of that novelty kind of stuff where you'll see somebody starts. I mean, the facility's got to be amazing. Look, we're looking at you guys here on this, and Cal and I are drooling, wanting to get there and check it out because those places are amazing. But like to your point though, if you don't put the craft into it and make something that's going to be sustainable and that's going to stand out, what's the point? Because it will fade, And
that's where Brian and I have become like brothers over the last couple of years. It's not easy what we're doing, especially during COVID. And the pivot that we made to make sanitizer, we gave it away to the homeless, we gave it to medical clinics, we gave it to hospitals, and we're not obviously we're running a business, but these are times that are tough for everybody, and we're in downtown Birmingham, so we felt like we needed to be good citizens first. Brian pivoted that deal on a dime and turned us into sanitizer makers in a matter of minutes.
Very cool.
And it just speaks to the professionalism of what we're doing, and I can't thank him enough. He's done a great job running this thing. Yeah. Got it. 914.
Oh boy! No, don't do that. Don't do that. You'll get way too many calls.
678 978. Hey, yeah. So, there's lots of stuff I want to go on with.
Yeah.
I'm not tell you where we're headed. Let me.
Yeah. Well, that's so. Yeah. So two things. So I want you to close us out, and I want to know that where you going. When am I getting my next bottle of bourbon? The whiskey's great, fantastic, love it, and we need to tell people where they can find you at, and where are we playing golf and when.
Okay, so I'm going to let Brian talk to you about where we're going and what we're doing.
Cool.
And then we'll talk about. I'll make the offer for when we're doing the next and how I'm going to get it to you. So I'll let Brian tell you about where we're going because that's really his world. He should take credit for it.
So we've got several things coming along the way. So right now we're just in Alabama. We're fixing to launch into the Atlanta market, Atlanta, Georgia market. And
tell them where we are in Alabama.
Also into Mississippi, but COVID kind of put a damper on things right now. We're in right at now 100 of the Alabama ABC Control Board stores. We've increased it from about 55 to right at 100. We're in about 75 private package stores spread across the state. 4 of those are pretty big major chain companies. They're Alabama born and bred companies, but like one of them has 9 package stores, so right off the bat, we ended up in all 9 of theirs. And we're in about 100 on-premise accounts right now. That's private. I mean, that's private clubs, that's country clubs, that's restaurants, that's bars. You know, those type of establishments we call on-premise. We're launching with a program with Republic National Distribution Company called LiveDip. It's online distribution, so it's an online distributor.
Yep.
They're in 6 states. So as soon as FedEx gets off their ass and gets me the documents that I need, which I talked to them today for the about 5th time.
He works for FedEx, by the way.
We'll be.
Hey, that's only a rumor. Only a rumor.
We'll be in Florida, online for sale all across the state of Florida for any private package store to a restaurant to a home consumer can order from LiveDip. They'll deliver it right to their house.
Very cool.
We'll also be hitting the state of New York in 60 days.
Wow.
California, probably another 35 to 40.
Wow.
Missouri, Illinois, and the state of Colorado.
Wisconsin.
No, excuse me, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, not Missouri.
And the state
And is that e-commerce business?
That's
e-com?
Those 6 states are e-commerce.
Yeah.
Anybody will be able to order it.
Well, yeah, you can also order weed in all of those states, which I'm like, shit, why don't I live there?
Gosh, here we go.
We're also launching, hopefully, we're in negotiations with Walmart in the state of Arkansas.
Nice.
Cool.
We're still in negotiations with the Atlanta market, with the state of Mississippi, and with also the Tampa market in the state of Florida. So that could be boots on the ground in Tampa.
Wow.
Those 3 are with United Johnson Brothers or United or Johnson Brothers of Florida.
Know both of them. Yep, for sure.
So we're
That's good.
we're hard charging. Of course, this week we're in Costco in the state of Alabama as well. So
Wow.
we landed the state stores for Costco. So hopefully that will spread into Mississippi with the one they're building Mississippi. Plus, hopefully when we hit the Tennessee market in Nashville or Chattanooga, we can go into it in Tennessee as well.
So you may get it. You may have a problem on your hands soon.
Be a good kind of problem.
It's called inventory, and we don't have it anymore, right?
Good kind of problem. We'll take it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, nice work.
So
Yeah,
I'll
that's
say
great.
right now we're functioning at about a 5% capacity. You know, we started the first year knowing we would need to get to a bigger capacity. We were somewhere between 5 and 10%. We have lots of capacity to make more, and that was intentional. So we bought way too much equipment, understanding that we needed to build it and grow it. So that was intentional from the get-go. Now, as far as what we're going to do for you guys, I will tell you that every product we have, and I'll commit that every new product we put out, including the ones we already have, I'll make sure that each of you get a bottle.
All right.
And some swag. We got to get you guys some swag. So
Just send
I can't
Dan.
see these shirts because my gut's too big, but it says whiskey for winners.
Okay. Nice. I did see the shirt. I saw the shirt earlier. Yeah, it looks awesome.
Whiskey's for winners.
Well, we'll wear it on our show.
We'll
We'll drink it on our show. We'll share it with our friends, so you don't have to worry about distributing to everybody else. We'll do it. But anything you're going to send to Dan, I don't know if you heard, but Dan got promoted to intern today. So Dan got a promotion. Dan got a promotion. And it is fantastic.
Cal's still the janitor.
And they ain't nothing wrong with picking up other people's shit. You can make a lot of it.
Gotta do it.
It's called Ricky Fowler and the Waste Management Tournament, and it is money.
Nice.
I always got to spend money into it. Yeah. So hey guys, so we're running. We're not running long. I mean, I could sit down here. And we're at virtual bars now. I mean, shockingly enough.
Yep.
But we don't want to kill we don't want to kill anything. And I think it's been fantastic having you guys on. We're never saying no. We want, you have my address, Jeff. If you don't, Brian, I definitely have your number. Thank you very much.
We will get it to you. I'll be in Atlanta again. My sister lives in Buckhead, so I'll be over there. My son's going back to UGA in a couple of weeks, so I'll be bringing you some stuff. So when I'm coming through Atlanta on August, I'll be there August 1st, coming through with him. I'll bring you a box of some stuff. And Dan, send me an address, and I'll make sure it gets to you.
No. You can just drop Dan's stuff off with me. I'll make sure it gets to him. It's fine. Hey, no kidding though. Brian, Jeff from Dread River Distillery, we really appreciate you coming on. Dan, I don't know what else to say, but we would like for you to tell people where they can catch up with you at. If you want to drop your plug.
Cheers. Obviously, we're happy to have anybody. We're at www.dreadriver.com. Our Instagram is at Dread River Co. and our Twitter and Facebook and all that is at Dread River Co. As we said, we're open Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There's somebody here basically Tuesday through Saturday. So if somebody walked in at lunchtime and wanted to come in and buy swag and bottles and stuff, the bottle shop is always open when somebody's here. So we never turn somebody away if they walk in and they want to buy the products. But in terms of the bar and the restaurant and the tastings and the tours, Thursday, Friday, Saturday right now, and I would recommend they use Open Table. That way we have a big space, but we're using Open Table so we can distance everybody and be safe. All of our staff is wearing masks and gloves. I'm in healthcare. I have to make sure we're following the rules. And so we're doing everything we can to keep it safe and keep Birmingham safe. So we look forward to everybody getting back to normal and getting back to it. But if anybody wants to come, they can email me. I'm Jeff at dreadriver.com. And Brian is Brian at dreadriver.com. If anybody wants to email us, we're more than happy to take emails. And we're really good at responding. So we promise a response.
Awesome. Hey, guys, thanks so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Looking forward to following up with this chapter 2 and coming to see you guys in person. But until then, cheers.